right, you too. We are just 7 days into March, and this is 50 more ounces to the stack. I think it's time to catch my breath. All right, so this is Franklin Street Coin. I went down there and see if he had got any more silver in since the last time I was down there, and this is what he had. A guy had just came in just a little bit before I did, and he wanted to get a $5 gold coin, and Phil had one, and the guy wanted it, so he traded him some silver for it. And so this is what he had left, and I went in there and bought this 50 ounces. So while I was in there, I talked to Phil a little bit about what's going on globally, and if he's going to change any of the way he does anything, or has he seen any changes in the way people are buying or selling, any of that volume change. And so I'll just let a lot of that play and let you guys hear what he basically what he told me.
Not really done anything different here in terms of the business, but we buy and sell the same. The thing is, we work in the current market, so whatever the market bears in terms of pricing it and whatever it bears in terms of us having to buy it is what we have to do. I think we're going to see, a problem with distribution, manufacturing businesses. I think they're going to have an issue if this continues,
Right.
especially if they import things globally, and a lot of the other countries aren't able to provide either the resources or the materials or the goods that they sell. The manufacturing, I think, is going to take a hit. So we'll see where that lands. I think that's a few months down the road until the effect of all this takes full.
And to be honest with you, I really thought silver would be up a little higher. The spot price would be up a little higher than where it is right now, and it's kind of a mystery to me. And like I'm no expert, I'm no economist or anything like that. Like I said before, but I would expect silver, with the way things are going globally, silver to be up a little higher, with people buying more precious metals as a safe place to put their money. So I asked Phil about that since he buys and sells so much silver, and this is basically what he told me.
Now, there's two things I think that are important points as to why we haven't seen gold and silver really spike dramatically. And the first is the effect this has had on China. China holds a lot of money in U.S. companies and stocks, and owns a lot of the industry that goes on in the United States. So I think the decline in the stock market had a lot to do with their influence on the stock market. But they also buy a lot of silver and gold. So I think in turn, perhaps their buying has diminished a little bit. So it's kept the prices fairly low. They're not actively going out trying to buy right now. I think they're trying to accommodate their population first in terms of getting it well. So I think China had a bigger influence than a lot of people would want to believe. I think they had an influence on the stock market because of the ownership of what the sell-offs and things like that. We had seen the stock market really take a dive. It's probably still off a couple thousand points from where we started. But I also think that there's such a big buyer of gold and silver worldwide that perhaps they've toned it down a little bit, and that's kept the prices a little low. They're not. It's not a priority to them right now. So, once they get back on track, if manufacturing gets back in place, I think things will stabilize a little bit.
All right, now that was a very good point. I hadn't considered that. Maybe with China is a big buyer of precious metals, and since they're focusing on the health issues, they're not buying as many metals. But that was a very good point. But the next point he made kind of took me by surprise.
Is that we can point to a reason as to why things have diminished. I mean, a lot of times when the economic crisis happen, there's multiple reasons as to why things are happening, and people really can't pinpoint it. We can fairly pinpoint why the economy worldwide has taken a hit. It's because of workers can't get to the manufacturing plants, and then the supply chain gets interrupted, and then the sales get, lower than expectations, and you go on and on and on. So to me, if you can point a finger to a cause, that cause will eventually be rectified. And the fear of, this is just a downward spiraling problem that we can't solve, is going is not happening. I think we will eventually get to the point where this will level out, and not that there'll be a cure for the virus, but at the same time, I think the fact that you can point to one single factor that's caused all this has left a lot of people less anxious about it.
And I think that's a very good point. I mean, really, one of the biggest fears that we as humans have is the fear of the unknown. Feeling out of control, feeling that we're not in control of our lives and what we're doing. What's beneath those dark waters, or around that corner or behind that door. But Phil made a good point that this time the market disruption can be pinpointed to a single source, and that among other things, but really the major source of the economic disruption is like what he said. We can point to it and say, okay, this is why there's this disruption, because of the fear of this virus. And it's not really so much the virus as the fear, because let's face it, the majority of the population will not get sick, but it's that fear that we may get sick is what disrupts our lives and what makes us do things out of the ordinary. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, because the more you're aware that you need to be cautious and you take certain precautions, the less likely you are to get sick and therefore affect someone else. So, fear is a good thing. Fear in the market is not a good thing. And I think the reason why there's not so much fear in the market is, like Phil said, we know what the cause of this disruption is. And eventually, scientists and doctors are going to figure this out, just like they do with everything else, and then we'll be back on track. So, be prepared. Be prepared for whatever disruption that this fear may cause, but don't let it control your life. Don't stop planning for the future. Don't start thinking that doomsday is right around the corner. I was joking last time about eating my candy bar and unboxing silver, because these are the last days. That was a joke. That was absolutely a joke. Maybe in poor taste, but it was just a joke. I do not feel that way. I'm going to continue with my life. I don't believe that this is going to be that big of a problem, but I like to be prepared for anything that comes, any kind of disruption, as I'm sure many of you do. Okay, enough of that about this virus. This is going to be it for me for a little while. I'm going to have to take a breather. I've spent 64 more ounces, and I'll have 300 ounces, which is usually what my budget is for the entire month. And we're only 7 days into this month, so I'm already, well within reaching my goal and my budget. But I still feel like I just don't have enough silver. And I know I just feel like, the time is now to buy it. My wife has actually started to say a little bit about that. She never really says anything, but I've been buying a lot. She doesn't see me buy this much silver at one time very often. And so, maybe I need to back off just a little bit. I mean, I'm not rich by any stretch of the imagination, but I do save my money and put it in precious metals, and that's what I'm doing now. There's my Hershey bar. As you guys can see, I did not finish it. There's still some left. I actually think my wife got some of it. She won't admit it, but I thought for sure I had more left than that. But anyway, we're going to keep this silver train rolling. Appreciate you guys stopping by and showing me love. Appreciate you guys going and visiting Silver 5150's channel. The guy is awesome. He's got some real good information there. But anyway, if you haven't checked it out already, go over there and check out his channel, Silver 5150. I think you'll really enjoy it. But anyway, I appreciate you guys stopping by and showing me love. If you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe. If you like what you see, hit that thumbs up, and let's just keep this silver train rolling. Keep stacking. Peace.